Hello everyone, this is Venom Geek Media here, and guess what? I'm doing another rant video. I have a lot to get off my chest, and to be clear, I'm recording all these videos as like a clump. That's generally how I do them. I just have a day where I record and I do everything, and it's really exhausting on my flow. Anyway, I'm doing another rant video, and this has basically been brought about because of on one of the Drac chats where we dared to even for a minute talk about New Trek and, you know, discuss it and actually some of the redeeming features of at least the ship designs. Because we dared do that. I had a comment section, I had many people in the comments, or several people in the comments, virtue signaling about how much they hate New Trek and how it isn't real Star Trek and how it's not real Star Trek, and people ask them why, and they cite this bizarre myth of it's 25% different. It's a legal thing. It's 25% different. It says because lawyer things. So, yeah. So this is a myth that I've heard around a couple of times, and I'm getting increasingly sick of. I'm also generally just getting increasingly sick of people ranting about New Trek and how they hate it and how it's not Star Trek. Okay, just because you don't like something and just because it's not good, I'm not even going to say it's good, but just because something is either not good or you just don't like it, both are kind of subjective, does not mean it is not a thing, right? Does not mean that the prequels were not Star Wars films, okay? Does not mean that the new films are not Star Wars films. They're terrible. They're crap. They were still Star Wars films, everyone acknowledges that, but for some reason in Star Trek, there's people who have gone around peddling a myth that it's not just not Star Trek because we don't like it, but it's not Star Trek because legally it's not Star Trek. What are you talking about? That's not... Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to address this because I'm sick of hearing about it all the time. Whenever I talk about New Trek, I have a little secret to tell people who don't like Star Trek Discovery, who hate New Trek. Star Trek Discovery Season 1 was 5 years ago. It's over. Forget about it. Move on. Everyone else has, including Star Trek Discovery. I don't think any of them probably even remember what they did for the first season, much less how much people hated it. Is the new Star Trek Discovery any better? I don't know. It's more Star Trek-y. Might not be good Star Trek, but it's Star Trek-y. I haven't watched the 4th season. Maybe I'll get round to it now that I've seen Strange New Worlds. Plus, I can pick and choose... Well, I can pick and choose episodes, but no, you can't because it's serialized. You got to bloody commit to that shit, which is kind of annoying. Anyway... I'm really sick of people just virtue signaling about how they hate Star Trek Discovery, because it's absolutely a virtue signal. It's not just a political thing, and it is not just confined to a certain political persuasion. Both sides fucking do it. The kind of people who virtue signal who shout about how much they hate New Trek, yeah, they're trying to virtue signal. And I'm just, I don't care. It's a thing. Deal with it. Move on with your life. You've got all of old Star Trek. You've got new Star Trek coming out that's actually more on point, and maybe if you pulled your head out your arse and looked around, you'd realise that this is not 2016, it's not Star Trek Discovery Season 1 anymore. And things have changed, and I think largely for the better. Whatever. Obviously, but there's just going to be some kinds of people who I'm not going to get through to. But... there's probably plenty of other people who are frustrated of hearing this bizarre 25% myth. So in this rant video, I'm going to explain this myth and why it's utter shite. It's utter bollocks. It makes no bloody sense. Right, okay. So, I'm just going to tell you the origins of the 25% myth. They're very easy to find. This is a very, very simple condensing, but you look them up anywhere on Reddit or Quora. there's plenty of people who have recorded what the fuck this thing is and how it manifested. So basically, John Eves was on a Facebook group for Star Trek, Starship designs. He was talking with some people. They were talking about the differences between the new designs and kind of what went before. I presume they were talking about the kind of Enterprise as it appeared in Discovery. Now, let's make it clear. John Eves is an artist, not a lawyer. So apparently a producer came to him, he drafted a design, or he'd take the Enterprise design, and the producer said to him, take this, but make it 25% different. Now, I will say that is a fucking awful directive. Like, as someone who has now worked with artists on design work, that is not what they want to hear. Maybe, like, John Eves is used to this kind of stuff, but that is fucking useless information. Like, what the fuck is 25% different? What things do you want 25? Like, it's just... I'm not going to say it's not a stupid directive, because it is, and it does sound like the kind of thing a producer would say. Because they have no clue what actually is, what with all is involved. But he interpreted this as a legal thing. Okay? Reality, it wasn't. It was just stupid things producers say. And then he later clarified and, said, no, that was just an artistic thing that he wanted it to look a little bit different. Not a legal thing. That's the origin of That's the origin of this myth. But it has since exploded into this entire elaborate conspiracy theory where New Trek is not Star Trek because for some reason CBS doesn't have rights to its own fucking property. CBS and Paramount are all tied in together. I'm not sure who owns who, but one of them owns the other. Well, they're both owned by AT&T. I don't fucking know American companies. Point is, they have the rights. They have all the rights to all of Star Trek. Let's be very clear. This is why on bloody whatever it is now, Paramount Plus, that's why they've got all the Star Trek series on there. If they didn't have rights to all the Star Trek, they wouldn't have it all on there. Okay. So let's see, so this doesn't make any sense and it doesn't hold any waters, but I'm going to humour this. Let's say that, there was let's say, for example, Matt Jeffries, the designer of the original Enterprise and the Klingon battlecruiser, let's say that Matt Jeffries held certain rights over his designs. Now, I don't think he did. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Please, nobody sue me for libel. I'm just speculating here. This is all speculative. Make it clear. This is speculative. Don't libel me. But essentially, Matt Jeffries, let's say he has partial rights over the Enterprise, and his estate says, okay, basically you can't use these designs without paying royalties. And let's say that Paramount, CBS, whoever the fuck the company is penny pinching and does not want to pay royalties. So they don't want to pay royalties. So they go to John Eves and they say, okay, take this design by Matt Jeffries, but make it look 25% different. That's not going to fucking hold up in court. That's not how that works. Just because you take a thing, and make it look slightly different. Let's say, for example, even if you could define what 25% difference is, let's say I go and make my own sci-fi film, and let's say I go and I add an Imperial Star Destroyer, but I paint it purple with white stripes. And I say, well, it's different. It's like, no, it's not. That's not different. Or I change a couple vague details. I'm still pretty sure Disney is going to come for me. Because it's clearly a fucking Star Destroyer that you've just painted purple. That's basically what this idea of 25% different would entail. It's not gonna, it wouldn't, if it was actually a legal thing, it wouldn't work. Because there's no way, no one's looking at the Discovery D7, or at least the Discovery D7 that we finally got, the actual D7, or the Discovery Enterprise, or Strange New Worlds Enterprise. I think they are slightly different. I don't know. But no one's looking at those and is going to say, oh yeah, that's different. That's not the same thing. No lawyer, that wouldn't fool any lawyers of the Matt Jeffries estate, if this was the case. This is speculative. This is a thought experiment. Generally, one of the thresholds for this thing, for a lot of like things. I don't know in America, but I know in the UK there is the what is it? The standard of the reasonable man. Basically, would an average normal person say? I don't know if it's been used. I want to say it's been used in music cases, but don't quote me on that. Don't quote me. Yeah, don't quote me on that. But I think it's been used in music cases, and basically get a normal bod in there and say, do these pieces of music, they sound similar to your ear holes. And he's just like, yes or no, they don't sound similar. Or do they sound the same? Whatever they're arguing about. But you basically get an outsider normie person in and say, are these things the same? Sorry, I just whacked my mic. Are these things the same? And they will say either yes or no. If you get a normal bod, okay, and you bring them in and you say, is that the Starship Enterprise? And you take the original Enterprise from the original series and you put it next to the Strange New Worlds Enterprise. You say, is that the Enterprise? Are they both the Enterprise? They're like, yeah, they're the Enterprise. Are they the same? Yeah, that's the Star Trek Enterprise with Dr. Spock. That's what the average person would say. It's the Star Trek Enterprise with Dr. Spock. Like, that's really, like... And it is, like, only if you are as nitpicky as we can be, could you even humour such a bizarre idea. Because you're so focused on the details. It's like, it's still the same thing. That wouldn't fool any lawyers. They'd still say, no, you're using the Matt Jeffries design without paying the royalties. Come on, cough it up. Like, so, changing details would not make a damn difference. Wouldn't make a difference. It wouldn't clear them. It wouldn't do anything like that. It wouldn't satisfy a 25% different threshold, which wouldn't even be a legally enforceable thing. You just have to say, boom, we hold rights over this, and and you can't just, try and repaint it to make it look like not our original thing. Again, I think the lawyers would frown upon that. Additionally, the further disproof, other than its utter absurdity as an idea, further disproof has been in the more recent New Trek shows, which have given us legacy designs. Some of them updated, like the Romulan Bird of Prey. Like, if you call that an update, again, slap a new coat of paint on it. I mean, that's about all there is to it. Or indeed, the fleet that we get in Season 2 of Picard, which some of them are not changed at all. In fact, most of them aren't changed. Most of them are either how they appear in Star Trek Online or how they appeared back in Star Trek First Contact or Next Generation or whatever. But they are actually the same. So it's not that any person has this. And also, when you ask, they're like, who owns this 25? Who has this 25% like thing? They're not very clear on who the fuck actually that is, because no one does. Because it doesn't make any sense. It is not a legally enforceable principle, and it is not that. It's just a stupid fucking thing a producer said when talking to an artist, because they couldn't just say, it's about the same extent of saying, make it look gooder, which is, again, something I would not put past a stupid producer. Okay? But that is it. That is the 25% myth. Explained. Debunked. It's a stupid myth. I don't want to hear it again. I'm sick of it. For those of you who subscribe to that, I have to tell you, Disco Season 1 happened. It's over. Let it go. Forget about it. Move on with your life. It's finished with you. No one talks about it. No one gives a shit about it. Because it was rubbish. It was rubbish, but you know what? Things are better now. Trust me, they really are. So, and you need to just stop listening to people, to these hacks. And I know, I'm not going to name names, but I know the names. The people who are peddling this stuff, peddling. Some of them are just peddling myths. Some of them are straight up peddling myths and lies. And I'm surprised that they don't get fucking done for libel, because they say slanderous, well, not even slanderous shit, like misinformative shit. Maybe a certain man in a mask. There's also a lot of other people who have just kind of jumped on this negativity train because Disco Season 1 was so terrible, and they've basically, and various other things, the things were so terrible, and they were terrible. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that the things that happened back, that the shows that we got in that kind of period were not terrible, or the movies we got were not terrible. They were, for many and varied reasons. But that's gone. It's long gone. We're in a new fucking decade. A new reality is setting in now. A new world. And, you know, Star Trek Discovery and the Star Wars sequels and all of that are in the past. They're over now. They're gone. They can't hurt you anymore. And they never could fucking hurt you because they're fucking movies. But that's just to say, forget about them, move on, and maybe you will see that things are better now, and you don't need to fucking have these bizarre theories. And just enjoy what there is now, and also what went before and what was good. But that is basically all. That is my rant over. Just, okay, thank you guys for listening. I probably made a couple people unsubscribe, but whatever. Who cares? I'll see you all in the next one.